are many who have children who maybe they don't know their child has issues.
And it's, of course, that background. It's a bit like sometimes you see someone not wearing a mask and you don't realise that he or she has issues as to why they can't wear a mask, why a child has issues as to why.
Say again, mate. Fair enough. Well, I'm calling you on the number that you gave me, which actually I already had on the last number that you wanted me to call you on, you know? The most... I don't know, mate. You just call me on this number now, and so I all right, mate. Straight away, quickly.
Economic recovery after the pandemic won't be immediate.
The sooner this arrives and the sooner it can help us, the better. Fair to say, though, whenever the vaccine arrives, it's going to take us some time in business, some time to recover. The vaccine won't be instant when the vaccine arrives, but it will take time.
More people were made redundant between July points on record. The Office for National registered during the 3 months. Over the quarter, the UK's unemployment rate reached 4.8%, the highest in almost 4 years. A healthcare worker has been arrested for a third time on suspicion of the murder of 8 babies at a hospital in Cheshire. She's also being held over the attempted murder of another 9 at the Countess of Chester's neonatal unit. Is our reporter in the Northwest, Laura Pratt.
It's been more than 3 years since this investigation first began, with the woman in question being arrested.
Why did it take so long? Nah, it's not blocked, mate. No, I haven't done anything. Oh, really? That's extraordinary, isn't it? Oh, for fuck's sake, they closed the fucking road. The trouble with Malta at the moment is that it's getting so much money off the EU. You know, they're fucking going crazy. They're putting tarmac on roads all over the place. Oh no, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, yes. Do you know how much just the EU? I'm not talking about anywhere else in the world. I'm just talking about the EU. How much the illegal IPTV industry is worth just in the EU? That's Internet Protocol for television, yeah? So, I'm sure you know that more and more people are streaming TV over the internet, and it's taken away the way that people consume media, you know, so they're losing their aerial, they're losing their cable, and everybody's going IPTV. And the reason why is because I've just taken one out, mate, and I was very reluctant Well, let's see if I can figure it out, because it's a bit of a fucking nose doing it. Because you need a stream source from one place, and then you get a player from another place. There are providers that combine the two, but I didn't like what was on offer in those combo providers. So I've got 60,000 channels now on my mobile, my tablet, my laptop, my TV. I've got 60,000 channels, right, for €60 a year, and those channels include all of the Sky Cinema channels, right? Every pay TV channel you could think of. Claudia said to me, see if you can find this one. And within 10 seconds, I'd got a pay TV channel in Germany. I have. But listen, tell me what you think this totally 100%, oh no, this is fucking blocked as well. Well, I'm going to go the other way then. I'm going to go to Sleemer. Oh no, I want to get my cigarettes. Oh, for fuck's sake. Every fucking day there's something. Anyway, yeah. So how much is this industry worth, my little wobbly friend? Just in the EU. Just in the EU. They did a report on it last year. It's worth over €1 billion each year. No, but you think about the growth potential of that industry. Yeah, more people, more and more. It's going exponential. You know, the growth, because people are so fed up paying. I mean, you have. Imagine that you're in the you are in the UK now, but you want to have all your. I think it was over £35 a month. Yeah, for all your cinema channels, all your sport channels, all that rubbish. Yeah, okay. £35 a month. I've got access to them all in high definition, HD, proper HD, 1920 by 1080. Yeah, for €60 a month, and not just in the UK, but around the fucking world. Well, how do you know there's an idea? Oh, what? Completely? Oh, fuck's sake! How much they pay you? That's got nothing to do with it. That's got nothing to do with it. Well, actually, they do it, and there's 35 profit. That's for a year. You know, I took out a year subscription. Well, you can, yeah, but I don't. I don't like monthly payments. And if I offered this service, I would own. What do you mean? Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, I can't deal with this fucking. I can't deal with this fucking traffic, mate. Fucking joke. Every fucking day there's something. Well, it's all completely illegal, mate. But I tell you what, it's a €1 billion, Italy, and it's no. It'll be a crypto transaction on a no-name host in Russia or something. Yeah, and I won't give any support either. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I could sell the service, undercut the provider. Yeah, I could sell the service for €40, so it's a third cheaper. But I don't provide support. You've got to pay in crypto, and it would only be for the people that are a little bit, that they're into that sort of thing, But I mean, they get what they paid for. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's copyright infringement. And the funny thing is that I was reading this report, and people are getting banged up for it, mate. They're getting banged up for it. Yeah, they don't like it up 'em, buddy. Yeah. So I was just thinking about that. I mean, could I survive at a margin of 40 buying it at 25? Well, the only way you could do it is if you don't have any support. They buy it, it works, and there's no refunds. Not getting into refunds because that's another support channel. So you're taking a punt for 40 euros that you're going to get 60,000 channels. I got it to work, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And what I will do is I will give them a free player. Yeah, a link to download a free player, and they'll get the URL, and you just plug it in. It fucking works, mate. I was amazed at how easy I found it. It's come a long way, mate. Because I remember when I looked at this last time, it was about 2 years ago, and I gave up. It was a fucking minefield. But now, this provider, whether I'm just lucky that I found this particular provider or not, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's fucking bonkers, mate. Because they advertise that they've got, I think, 60,000 customers or something. That's a huge business. Well, it depends where they are. I mean, if you take, for example, Aurora TV, right? We do that for video, yeah. And what they do with that, it's based in Russia, and under Russian law, you can share anything you like, any copyrighted content whatsoever, films predominantly, documentaries, stuff like that, TV shows, for educational purposes. So do you know what they do? They put fucking subtitles on everything by default. So it says that it's a way of learning English. Yeah. So it's all. No, it has actually, funnily enough, it has English subtitles. That's right. No, it's got English subtitles on everything that you watch, but you can turn them off. Yeah. Gary Grump. Yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah. IQ. I think that's what Doty has. Yeah, yeah. She sold it there. Yeah. I said to him, "Don't you look a bit silly in it?" He went, "Suits me." He went, "Suits me." I do, mate. Yeah, it came in force last week, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, I know. It's not good though, buddy, is it? So, what is your mate that you got over from Thailand going to do now that you sold the company? You got something else lined up, have you, my little pork-bellied friend? Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Ah, there we go. Ta-la-la. Yeah. Well, the Chinese, they send out hitmen, so I'd watch your back, mate. What, the Chinese? You're working with the Chinese? Fucking hell, mate. Yeah. I do indeed. I do indeed. Alright, mate. Ta-ta. Toodle pip.
That famous rap. Say, it's all right.
LBC.
Ah, the great British roast. When their buzz is set aside, the TV goes off, the family comes together, and everything stops. For the perfect roast, only Bisto Best Gravy will do. Made with real meat juices for that authentic, rich roasted flavour. Ah, Bisto.
Whether you're dreaming of a house the size of a football stadium or a football stadium in the back garden of your house, what you need is dream come true money. Luckily tonight's Euro Millions jackpot is £44 million. Now that's dream come true money. Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Play online or on the app. Estimated jackpot rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
You're listening to a revolution that's happening in Tara's clothes shop and in thousands of other businesses like hers. Tucked away at the back of the store, a smart meter's quietly working away, sending meter readings direct to Tara's energy supplier. So her business avoids estimates and gets bills as current as their collections. Join the quiet revolution. Contact your energy supplier for more information. Eligibility may vary.
Lola should be saying a virtual hello to her new clients right now, but instead she's saying awkward. Why, Lola? Why set up a fancy new loft office if your Wi-Fi doesn't reach it? Never fear. With BT Complete Wi-Fi, you'll be back with a bing. Only BT guarantees reliable Wi-Fi in every room or £100 back. Why choose anyone else? BT. Beyond limits.
Up to 3 days to guarantee 10 Mbps in every room or £100 off your next bill. Terms apply.
At Morrison's, we want to thank the nation's school teachers by offering a 10% discount in store. And we're continuing to offer our very hard-working NHS workers a 10% discount. Thank you. From Morrison's. Majority of stores, a valid photo ID required. For terms and conditions, see my.morrisons.com/discounts. Meet Andrew, a patient at the Darwood and Tanner Dental Practice.
I had loose teeth, I had a missing tooth, and I had gums that were telling me that I needed treatment right now.
How was your dental implant experience?
It was a 3 or 4 hour procedure. It was a complete easy process. For me, there was no pain. It just was not the fearful experience that I was expecting. For me, the treatment has been life-changing.
Darwood and Tanner, helping to protect, repair, and improve your smile. Visit darwoodandtanner.co.uk.
Hey, Harry. Hello, mate. Set smart TV to record the football later.
You gotta be joking that you ain't got a blooming clue. But I tell you what, if you want to chuck a few quid on it, your best bet is to try that Bet Victor app. Even I'm a whiz on that. Listen, I've got a little tip for you, and you did need this from me. Oh, that'll be Sandra with the shopping. Sorry, mate, got a dash.
Listen to Harry and make your best bet with Bet Victor. 18 plus, please gamble responsibly.
Son, seen the remote?
This is the sound of a revolution taking place in Jim's house. In a dusty cupboard under the stairs, Jim's smart meter is silently working away, helping him make small changes to how he uses energy, while helping Britain use more solar and wind power and less coal. So even when he's only doing the housework, he can always do his bit for the environment too. Join the quiet revolution. Ask your energy supplier for a smart meter. Eligibility may vary.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with James O'Brien.
19 minutes after 10 is the time. Any action at all today? Any old iron? Any old iron? Except pro-death, pro-virus, pro-disease people, or anti-vaxxers as they like to call themselves. Because this is just great news, best news we've had in years. I think bigger news than Biden, actually, in the great scheme of things. Because when you think about the alternative, and if you're anything like me, you won't have let yourself Would you? You wouldn't have let... What happens if this is it? What happens if this continues forever? What happens if the virus is not ever vanquished? And I don't know what the feasibility of that prospect is, but it has diminished enormously today. And I caught myself. Sorry to go on, but this is weird for me. And you are my sort of de facto therapist, as you well know, so I make no apology for prostrating myself on the metaphorical couch and inflicting my pontifications upon you. I was really surprised, because I am quite a cheerful person. And my immediate reaction to this story, it was a bit like when you've been punched so often, you smash your face into a brick wall so often, there comes a point where you think, do you know what? I don't think that wall is going to surrender. We're back to that quote, oh Lord, quote that I thought we'd wave goodbye to when the American election result came through. It's not the despair that gets me, Laura, it's the hope. I can deal with the despair. So yesterday, when news of the vaccine broke, I tamped down the hope. And it actually wasn't until Sheila Fogarty floated into the studio in a state of near euphoria that I thought, I think we've called this wrong, lads. And you'll notice I'm taking full responsibility for that decision myself. My crack team of producers, assistant producers and studio engineers were staring at me with ill-disguised incredulity, saying, why? Why haven't we hit the alarm button? Why have we not let joy be unconfined? Why haven't we played all our stupid sound effects that are designed to convey excitement and brilliance? Why, in other words, did we not do this? We'll never know. Anyway, let's crack on. Phil's an Epsom. Phil, do not rain on my parade. I don't want anyone raining on my parade until we get to the third call this hour. Can we write that down, please? Everybody pay attention. Phil, over to you.
I'll try my best. James, I've listened for years and I've never called, but I think this is a big one. The campaign to, for want of a better phrase, get this vaccine into people is going to be one of the biggest we've ever faced.
Do you think so?
I think we need to learn from Brexit. We need to learn from Trump.
Go on.
Shouting at each other, going after each other on Twitter, all of that sort of stuff cannot happen this time around.
Well, if let me be the imaginary, I'll be the imaginary pro-disease person. And how do you break? Because, you know, I wouldn't say I was an expert on this, but I'm certainly a very enthusiastic student.
You are an expert on it.
Well, thank you. But I wouldn't say that. You can. I couldn't possibly concur. I'm an enthusiastic student of it, and you can't argue people into changing their minds. All you can do is give them the questions they need to ask themselves. So on the vaccine stuff, my question has always been, what's in it for the scientists if they're lying? To which people might respond by saying money. So if you're not going to smack them around the head with cold, hard logic and evidence, what are you going to do, Phil?
I don't know, but it's going to involve...
High five!
Not coming up with headlines to sell papers. It's not going to, you know...
But this is so far, vaccine milestone heralds normal life by next spring. Vaccine hope, life back to normal by spring. Vaccine discovery, the world celebrates. God, I love the Daily Star at the moment. Viagra firms COVID jab joy. The maker of sex drug Viagra raised excitement for millions yesterday. Things are looking up. Our little bottle of hope. This is unanimous. Or unanimous, as Arthur Scofield used to say. There is no, at the moment, there is no rain on the parade, but you're bringing the ghost...
We're not even 24 hours in. Give them a chance.
That's true. But you're bringing the ghost of the anti-vaxxers to the table.
I am, yeah. And not even the anti-vaxxers. This morning I was in the supermarket early and I overheard a conversation between two older ladies, and they were both pretty adamant that they wouldn't be having it. It's just a virus. So, and you know, I didn't say anything. I didn't get involved.
No.
But I do
you think you should have done?
Involved a campaign to win people over.
And that is where, and this is where the slight worry about the personnel involved comes in, because these are not people so far who are good at fighting real enemies or waging campaigns about actual reality. We have a political leadership at the moment that is brilliant at inventing non-existent enemies and then persuading people that they're just the dudes to defeat.
Yes, and we know that sort of ex-colleagues of yours will start jumping up and down and various other various other things.
You'd be delighted. You'd be delighted by these examples of multiculturalism, the benefits of freedom of movement and European cooperation on the world stage. I mean, what is not to like? It's not like you just set up a new grift designed to oppose lockdowns, is it? That would be really embarrassing to the point of humiliation. So between us, Phil, let's come up with one tactic. You need to persuade people to take it. The first thing you have to do is persuade them there's no downside. That's going to be really difficult to do with brand new medicine.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So it's going to be like probably like a cross-party across all nations within the UK, like a campaign, almost like a political campaign. It's going to need celebrities involved. It's going to need the media, like the widespread media on a whole, briefed and almost like a completely joint effort. So all
everybody in it together for once, instead of that being a meaningless slogan. There really is a national need for this to be.
Yeah, all political parties need to sing from the same hymn sheet. Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, everybody, get celebrities, get newspapers, TV channels. Everybody needs to sit down in a room and go, right, this isn't about sales, it's not about clicks, it's not about views. This is bigger than everything.
It's about our lives.
Yeah, it's about lives, and we need to, like, everybody needs to unite. And I think that will, because look at Brexit. A big part of what caused Brexit was Labour's silence. So everybody needs
to the appallingness of the Remain campaign rather than Labour's silence. But you know, I hear you. But I mean, crikey, do you know what I was about to do to Phil there? I was about to accuse him of bringing Brexit into everything. Me accusing him of bringing Brexit into everything. That's the sound of irony expiring over the next hill. But you've got to stop bringing Brexit into everything, Phil. I know what you mean. And there is this rump of people, probably bigger than we appreciate, who are what you might call science skeptic. And that is something that needs to be addressed. And the challenge for this industry, of course, will be the resistance of people who are susceptible to that kind of nonsense. All right? And maybe me calling it nonsense doesn't help, but I'm going to need a lot of persuading of that. That is, so you don't book someone. You could bring on someone now who explains why vaccines are all a big con designed by Bill Gates to control our brains. I'm not going to get, 5.5 million views on it like we have for our greatest hits of Dominic Raab at the moment, but I'll do pretty well. And if you're counting the clicks and yeah, maybe. So just don't do that, lads. All right? It just wouldn't be helpful. Don't invite on idiots. And there goes 80% of the British media's content. Kenny's in Belfast. Kenny, what do you reckon?
Hi, James. Over the moon, really, to be honest. I've seen it coming in the last week. I actually.
All right, Nostradamus. Come on, then. Give me the evidence. Bring the receipts.
Look across at your research and answers the phone and show in order to Kenny Phone having a hissy fit when you were talking about Simon Stevens.
Really?
The detail about Simon Stevens. As soon as I saw him stand up there, I thought this guy's been MIE for 8 months. What's going on here? And then I thought, he's the glory hunter. He's come out, there's a vaccine, it's imminent. It's coming.
I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it. You can't prove it. I'll let you have it. You may well have said that, but you're like my mate Luke. Every flipping week I get a prediction off him, and the only time I ever get the follow-up is when it happens coincidentally to come true. The 9 out of 10 that never come true, he never flipping mentions. So I don't know how often you're on the phone belly aching about your amazing predictions and insights, and then the one that happens, the one that lands, the ship that comes in is the only ship you ever mentioned moving forward.
Actually, I have the same debate with my dad every day, and he says, well, what's their strategy? What's their strategy? And I said, well, I don't know what their strategy is, but the only strategy that they can have is that they know there's a vaccine coming. And
fair play to you. Fair play to you. And I mean, it's not a fly in the ointment. It's a real and present danger. The efforts that foreign agents have put into, foreign powers, the evidence is there, the tracks are clear, put into causing disruption and instability. The biggest driver of anti-vaccine lies on social media was Russian troll factories. That research came out, I think, last year. How do we fight that?
I don't even have any intelligence to compute.
Well, I'll tell you what, get your crystal ball out. Get your crystal ball out again and tell me what works.
Coca-Cola.
Kenny, take care. And if the story, as it moves on, as it develops, loses some gloss, loses some of the relief that we feel today, we'll call it, we'll describe it, but I'm not going to preempt it. The last time the newspapers were united like this was shortly after the Jeff Hurst hat-trick in 1966. 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need if you would like to contribute to this conversation. We're just having a party. Is it Jamie Vardy on line 4? No. We're having a small party because we haven't had a lot to celebrate for a while, and this week it's as if, all 6 numbers and the bonus ball have just come up. Time now is 10:30. Dominic Ellis is here with your headlines.
The Health Secretary says the NHS will mount a colossal effort to roll out a coronavirus vaccine once it's been approved by regulators. Matt Hancock says health workers are on standby to start delivering the jab at the start of next month, but he's warned there are still many hurdles to overcome. A vaccine being developed by Pfizer has been found to be 90% effective. A healthcare professional has been rearrested on suspicion of the murder of 8 babies at a hospital in Cheshire. The woman is also being held over the attempted murder of 9 others at the Countess of Chester's neonatal unit. She was first arrested in July 2018. And more people were made redundant between July and September than at any point on record. The Office for National Statistics says around 314,000 redundancies were registered during the 3 months. And the weather mostly dry and
I'm under no illusions about how difficult this will be. For the very latest, stay with LBC.
At Morrison's, we want to thank the nation's school teachers by offering a 10% discount in store. And we're continuing to offer our very hard-working NHS workers a 10% discount. Thank you. From Morrison's. Majority of stores, a valid photo ID required. For terms and conditions, see my.morrisons.com/discounts.
Quick check, buy that fast. Get a credit limit of up to £1,500 when you need it. With an Ocean credit card. Check if you're eligible at ocean.co.uk without it affecting your credit score. It only takes a minute. Intelligent Lending Limited is a credit broker. Capital One is the exclusive lender. Representative 39.9% APR variable. Borrow and spend responsibly. The Ocean Credit Card. There for when you need it most. Visit ocean.co.uk.
The Masters is back. For the first time ever in autumn.
We are in uncharted territory here.
Watch all 4 days live, only on Sky Sports Golf for just £10 extra a month. It takes a lot to win in April. What will it take now? See all 4 days live for just £10 extra a month. This is going to get better and better. Search Get Sky Sports Golf and upgrade today. Offer ends 19th November. Sky TV required. Further terms apply.
You're listening to a revolution that's happening in Tara's clothes shop and in thousands of other businesses like hers. Tucked away at the back of the store, a smart meter's quietly working away, sending meter readings direct to Tara's energy supplier. So her business avoids estimates and gets bills as current as their collections. Join the quiet revolution. Contact your energy supplier for more information. Eligibility may vary.
Oh, hello, John. Do come in. Just, be careful of the dog.
Don't worry, dogs love me. They love me.
Unfortunately, Pension B can't make you pet confident, but we can transfer most old pensions together into one simple online plan that you can easily access from your smartphone, anytime, anywhere.
Sparky, gives a nice man his own back.
Be pension confident. Download the app or visit pensionb.com to sign up.
Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Capital at risk.
As we all adjust to the latest government guidance, at Tesco we wanted to reassure you that we're doing everything we can to help you shop safely. We're installing a simple traffic light system at the entrance to our larger stores to help manage the flow of customers. And we're continuing our dedicated hours for vulnerable customers and giving NHS workers priority access. All our colleagues are provided with face coverings to protect themselves and you. We ask that you wear yours as well. Tesco. Every little helps. See tesco.com for more details.
Your start it up is our warm it up. Your masterpiece is our get it in one piece. Your it's just never gonna fit is our reverse it in bit by bit. And your daily marathon when it's done is our ready to start work and we'll put the kettle on. Because your business is our business. Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, working with you. Park assist optional extra. Driver assistance only. Driver must retain control at all times. Many van centres open late for bookings. See volkswagenvans.co.uk for details.
James O'Brien on LBC. Call 0345 6060973.
10:34 is the time. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. All right, I suppose we need to just have a little bit of mood management, don't we? Do you want to hear something hilarious? You know this Kate Bingham woman who's spent £670 million on boutique PR advice as she heads up the vaccine task force, despite being criticised very, very rightly for apparently revealing details of what the British government was investing in to private sector investors, with her other hat on as a sort of investment fund manager. Now, if you wanted to complain about this, 670 million quid being spaffulated up the old wall, would you consider Boris Johnson's appointed anti-corruption champion would be a good place to go to, wouldn't it? I mean, if you're worried about cronyism, you want to work out where that 670 million quid has gone, just to ask some questions, you would go to, because he's appointed an anti-corruption champion, which is great, isn't it? Guess who it is? Dido Harding's husband. That's not a joke. That's Brexit Britain. And against that backdrop, of course, the first fly in the ointment of our excitement this morning will be that, as things stand, Dido Harding will probably be in charge of getting the vaccine into the arm of the nation. And that doesn't fill me with enthusiasm or optimism, but I shall say it again. I've said it before. Just because they got everything wrong yesterday doesn't mean they will get everything wrong tomorrow. This is one of my favourite texts ever. Hi James, I blame VAR. What? We've got so used to damping down our euphoric goal celebrations in the dreaded expectation that the goal will be overturned. It's hard to switch that instinct off now when it comes to real life good news. I wish you'd signed that. You deserve a round of applause. That is a text of uncommon beauty. Why do we have this immediate reaction to euphoria that is, all right mate, hold your horses, calm down. You'd have to watch a lot of football on the telly. VAR, and speaking of football, I may pay tribute to a legend from my own hometown club whose death was announced yesterday. You'll think that this is tongue-in-cheek or light-hearted. It really isn't. A chap called Brian Murdoch, who put Kidderminster Harriers on the map because the catering at Akbara Stadium, and yeah, stadium's pushing it a bit, but the catering is the finest in the world. So some of the pies that Brian Murdoch served up, he said it himself. He said Real Madrid have got Cristiano Ronaldo, Barcelona have got Lionel Messi. He said this in 2012. Don't at me. I know one of them's moved on. Barcelona have got Lionel Messi, and Kidderminster Harriers has got Brian Murdoch's pies. And it was announced yesterday that Brian had passed on. So our condolences to his family and our thanks, not just for the memories, but of course mostly for the pies. 10:37 is the time. Toby is in Cardiff. Toby, what's going on?
James, first time caller.
670,000 did I say 670 million? If they spent 670 million, flipping heck, that was close. It's a good job someone's paying attention. 670,000 for the record. Carry on, Toby. My apologies.
Yeah, so look, I had a very visceral, emotional reaction when I heard the news yesterday. I was really happy and I kind of brought home what's been happening over the last sort of 6-8 months, and I've been very lucky in a lot of ways, my job, and I've been able to work, and so is my wife, but you're balancing everything, and you can't go to the cinema anymore, all that kind of stuff that we used to do and all that kind of thing, and you miss it, and you didn't really sort of appreciate that until I heard this news yesterday. I thought amazing. And then I had a look into it, and I'm a big fan of Ben Goldacre's book Bad Science. I've read it a few times. As a medical layperson, it's an instruction manual for how to really understand medical stuff that's in the newspapers and the media in general.
Yes.
And so the first thing I looked for was, okay, so has this data been peer-reviewed and independently verified and published in a medical journal? And of course it hasn't.
Well, it can't have been, and you're right. Yeah. I mean, Pfizer, you're about to say marking their own way. BioNTech more so than Pfizer, and of course the other reason for a degree of caution is that this doesn't mean you can go out and start breaching lockdown regulations or rolling around other people's houses and endangering everybody you subsequently come into contact with. So yes, you're quite right.
Yeah.
However,
so I kind of had the opposite reaction to you, which was your kind of...
Oh, you've gone in the other way?
Let's have a look at it, and I've gone the other way, where I've gone like...
Where did we cross? We can work out where we crossed. We could call that democracy. Where do you think we... So you're on the other side of the motorway, tooling along, and I'm pedalling furiously up this side, and so it is the point at which they start adding layers of evidence to the initial announcement. There's no reason to doubt the initial announcement. 90% is clearly a moment of almost unbelievable joy for the scientists conducting the research, because as I understand it, 90% is wildest dreams territory.
Way more, yeah, absolutely.
But
yeah.
you're right. And then there's the other problems as well. I mean, I hesitate to say this, but it's important that we do. My friend Jason Farrell's work at Sky News looking at Primadol, very ugly echoes of thalidomide, and so we do know that if medicine is not properly regulated, properly researched, then huge problems can be presented, but we haven't seen problems like that for decades.
We haven't, and I think there's been a lot of advances to sort that kind of stuff out, because it doesn't do, even as a private company, it doesn't do them any good to put to distribute vaccines that are going to harm people.
No.
But equally, there has to be some caution. I think.
Well, of course there does.
But what's important as well, of course, is that that Pfizer have, in a hope that it was going to work, have produced millions of them, and we have bought millions of them. So if the data, I'll be in the queue. I will have one if the data supports it. And as your first caller said, the communication plan then needs to be good to demonstrate to everybody that this is okay. This is what we've done. This is why it's this much quicker. I think this is the other thing that makes people suspicious, is how fast they've been able to do it. Now, that is probably a result of a global scientific consensus effort to get this thing resolved, because it's costing economies around the world millions and millions, billions of pounds.
Yeah.
And there's a will to get it done, and everybody's pulled out all the stuff.
So you need to, so oddly we've got,
we need to reassure people.
We do, and also, I mean, we aren't, it's not going to affect us, is it? I don't think that we're going to steamroller world governments around the world into prematurely putting this vaccine into the public space with our desperation for it and our enthusiasm for it. But it's odd, isn't it? It's also reported today that spreading anti-vaccination myths should be made a criminal offence, and the public should report offenders, says the Royal Society and the British Academy today. So a balance does need to be struck between enthusiasm and embracing and a degree of healthy scepticism. I'd also stress again, if it needs to be done, and if it doesn't, then done by doing it. This is a cause for celebration and optimism, but it is not in any way an invitation to start stepping down our current levels of alertness. Everything pulls together. The fewer people that have it, the better for everybody concerned, and that becomes truer and truer as the vaccine grows in proximity to the now. So, I put my mood at about 9 at the end of my introduction this morning out of 10. I'm still on about 7.5, 8, which is pretty good. I'll take that, having conducted much of the last few years on a 2 or a 3 on a good day. 10:42 is the time. Brian's in Great Yarmouth. Brian, what would you like to say?
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Pretty good, actually. How's Yarmouth?
Yeah, I can tell. I think if you wanted unbridled optimism, you probably shouldn't have encouraged critical thinking, really, because you're a big fan of critical thinking like me, and when you do that...
I didn't say unbridled. So I would take issue with unbridled. So we've done a few caveats since the eruption of excitement at the top of the show, but you're quite right. Of course you're right. Go on.
Essentially, what I'm worried about is, I'm very cautious in my optimism. I'm worried that the efficacy will be sort of diluted, because if we go with the 90% efficacy, that sounds fantastic. I don't know what the base rate is for flu vaccine. It's probably like 40 or 50%. I don't know, working wise, function wise. But it could lead to a sort of an erroneous statistical anomaly, because I think the uptake is going to be really low.
Because of scepticism.
Yeah, and then if I'm no data expert or statistician or anything like that, but depending on how you then extrapolate the results of the sort of dilution of the infection, it could then look like certain people may make it look like the vaccine is less effective than it seems by hiding the amount of people who have actually taken it, but looking at averaging it out. I'm not explaining very well.
No, you're not. So I'm glad you said that. I was trying to find the right words, Brian. I didn't want to come across as unduly...
I'm just saying, I think the low uptake will bring out a negative, erroneous conclusion about the efficacy of the vaccine.
Right.
Because the people who don't...
Why do you think there'll be a low uptake? Do you think it'll be lower than flu vaccine?
Oh, yes. I think The thing is, the anti-vaxxer brigade, whatever you want to call them, they are not niche. As you know, they are far from
there's
niche.
many more of them than we realised.
I mean, I reckon it could be as much as 40% of the population.
I'd go for a quarter, but I'm not going to argue the toss with you over that.
And
because a quarter, I think, is based on people who are prepared to say it publicly, and it's got a touch of the Trump voters to it, hasn't it?
And if you've got shy anti-vaxxers, that's more a compound problem.
Precisely, and it can never be mandatory. That would be a step in a direction that nobody.
That would be even worse. If you made it mandatory, you're making
take-up rate would be lower, arguably. You turn them into.
Yeah, I suppose the only way you can sort it would be to. I don't know, you have to sexify the image of the vaccine, or, I don't know, get Joe Rogan to tell people to take it.
I'm not really familiar with this stuff. And obviously, because I'm not familiar with it, I don't want to misrepresent anybody. But I know he's got a very, very popular podcast, and he's one of those people that thinks it's good to talk to both sides, including, I think, very...
Some of his podcasts are...
Yes, that's what I've heard, but he's sceptical about vaccines, is he?
I would, well, to be honest,
I don't want to misrepresent
that's not a fair characterisation by me.
Why'd you bring him into it then? So you're having a nightmare here, Brian. Honestly, it's me that gets into legal trouble, not you. Your name probably isn't even Brian, and I bet you're not even in Great Yarmouth.
Yeah, I am. No, I mean, he is sort of a philosophical outlier in that he takes from the left and right.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the people that watch him, a lot of them tend to only hear the right side of things.
That's a nice way of putting it. It's got to be, which seems fair. And I'm not, as I say, I'm not familiar enough with his work, his oeuvre, to comment. But he does have some fairly, what is that word that Nick uses that always makes me cringe slightly? Gamey. He does have some fairly gamey guests on his podcast. Brian, thank you. Not necessarily. No one's at the moment raining on the parade. Just possibly some very light drizzle.
LBC. Boris Johnson said when the data changes, we must change course. The truth is, though, the data changed on September the 21st when Sage said the country faced a very large epidemic with catastrophic consequences unless immediate action was taken with a 2-week circuit breaker.
Well, there was clearly a range of views within Sage.
Sage's advice was completely clear.
There is no perfect time for these things. You have to always balance.
No, but do you concede that if these measures had been introduced on the 21st, then thousands of people might not be dead?
Eddie Mayer, this afternoon from 4, LBC.
Are you the owner of fine wines or rare whiskies? You could sell them effortlessly at thelondonwineseller.com. With hundreds of 5-star reviews on Google, ask for a valuation. We'll get back with a cash offer you'll love. No waiting for brokers or auctions. The London Wine Cellar guaranteed to beat any competitor's cash offer with immediate payment terms. Conditions and guarantee information on our website. From one special bottle to an investment portfolio, look no further. Visit thelondonwineseller.com.
At Morrison's, we want to thank the nation's school teachers by offering a 10% discount in store. And we're continuing to offer our very hard-working NHS workers a 10% discount. Thank you. From Morrison's. Majority of stores, a valid photo ID required. For terms and conditions, see my.morrisons.com/discounts.
Hear that? It's meant to be sunny today. And because the British weather is so unpredictable, QuickFit are stocking Michelin cross-climate tyres, giving you excellent grip in any condition. At least that's one thing you can rely on. Find your nearest centre or book online at quickfit.com and drive away happy. Oh, it's sunny now.
2020 has been a year that's left many people wondering whether to go ahead with plans or to pause them, especially when it comes to moving home. At the Halifax, when our customers couldn't come to us, we came to them, and we still are. Every week, we're doing over 2,500 mortgage interviews by phone and video call, from our home to yours. Because the last thing we want you to do is have to cancel something else. Halifax, it's a people thing.
If you're wondering what you can do with your pension pot, this could be how you're feeling. That's the sound of worry and uncertainty, but you could be hearing this. Let's call it the sound of clarity, which you can get from PensionWise, a government service providing free, impartial guidance. In just an hour, you'll get clarity on all your options so everything feels less and a little more. If you're over 50, visit pensionwise.gov.uk or call 0800 144 8944 and discover the power of an hour.
At NISA, we integrate innovation and technology into our cars to help you live richer. To make your drive a lot less and a lot more. To find the Nissan that's right for you, join us at our Innovation Celebration event from the 2nd to the 30th of November, and get an extra £500 deposit contribution towards a Nissan Juke, Qashqai and X-Trail. Available at 4.99% APR representative. Search Nissan. Available on PCP Nissan Finance. Order by 30th November. Register by 17th December. Participating dealers only. Excludes this year. T's and C's apply. Visit nissan.co.uk.
The Masters is back. For the first time ever in autumn.
We are in uncharted territory here.
Watch all 4 days live, only on Sky Sports Golf for just £10 extra a month. It takes a lot to win in April. What will it take now? See all 4 days live for just £10 extra a month. This is going to get better and better. Search Get Sky Sports Golf and upgrade today. Offer ends 19th November. Sky TV required. Further terms apply.
You're listening to a revolution that's happening in Tara's clothes shop and in thousands of other businesses like hers. Tucked away at the back of the store, a smart meter's quietly working away, sending meter readings direct to Tara's energy supplier. So her business avoids estimates and gets bills as current as her collections. Join the quiet revolution. Contact your energy supplier for more information. Eligibility may vary.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with James O'Brien.
It is 10 minutes to 11 and you're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Some amazing news around today. There really is. One of my favourites involves the voter fraud hotline set up by President Trump's campaign in search of evidence to discredit Joe Biden's win, being swamped by prank calls. I'm going to try and get hold of some of the footage of those prank calls for you, or the TikToks. I hear that the Hamburglar, the fabled enemy of Ronald McDonald, has been spotted in several US states since these election results started coming in. And of course, speaking of comedy, Kenneth Copeland, the shiny-faced televangelist who greeted Joe Biden's election with hysteria, as we heard yesterday, has prompted another moment, a famous moment in the development of this programme, known as, colloquially, when James comes up with what he says will be a new feature and then forgets about it before the end of the second programme, in which the new feature was supposed to achieve. So today, we are having a Kenneth Copeland moment, a new feature on the programme which James will almost certainly have forgotten about before tomorrow's show. Moments. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and pleasure to tell you Woods, who earlier this week was tweeting about how important it is to control our fish, and those fish and their slippery scales. You've got to control them. John Redwood has, according to pro-Brexit newspapers, sent a warning letter to Joe Biden over Brexit.
The media said what? The media said Joe Biden's president.
Not to make you turn to prayer. Back to the vaccine and the light drizzle that I've invited you to apply to my parade, because obviously this is far from home and dry, although to give Brian in Great Yarmouth credit where credit is due, he was more or less bang on about flu vaccine efficacy. You're looking at roughly between 40 and 60%, although for reasons I can't quite understand, I think 2018-2019 was a particularly bad year for flu vaccine efficacy. So Brian got that more or less right. 90% is outstanding, or even astounding. And speaking of astounding, there's a report just gone from one of the right-wing hate sites. It turns out to be true. The tweet, if you somehow do something clever and technological to the tweet Downing Street issued congratulating Joe Biden, you can establish that it was originally written to congratulate Donald Trump. I don't know whether it's worth looking into, but I will, on your behalf, and share the details if I deem them to be worthy. Dido Harding is currently saying that test and trace is not a silver bullet, and we must stop virus through a variety of measures. That's the test and trace that a few months ago Boris Johnson, when he went through that phase of not being able to complete a sentence without saying Dido Harding's name, said that it would be world-beating and came pretty close to describing it as a silver bullet. Adam's in Seaham in County Durham.
I would say I have my reservations about the vaccine.
Right, hold right now. Adam, go on.
with a smattering of mild excitement.
Yes, alright, that'll do. That'll do. I mean, you do it the other way around. I've got a smattering of mild excitement, and the sprinkles on top of the smattering are sceptical and pessimistic.
Yeah, it's a lot to do with the regulatory frameworks, because pre-Brexit we subscribed to the International Conference of Harmonisation, which is the ICH practice, good clinical practice, and things like that to do with all medicines in and around Europe. America have the FDA and their regulations, China have their own version of it, Russia have their own version of it, yes. Other countries have their own version of it.
And we were under EMA. But if this vaccine is being manufactured in Belgium and the research was based or conducted by a German company founded by Turkish immigrants, for free movement fans, then we wouldn't be able to get our hands on it unless it had passed EU standards, would we? And you never know. You never know, mate. We might still be subscribing to some of the highest medical and food standards in the world next year, despite having left the institution that we were a key part of creating to ensure that some of the highest standards in food and medicine standards were in place.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We were part of the EMA, we were part of these European regulations, but at the end of the transition period, we no longer are. We have pulled out of them. So what regulatory frameworks do we have to replace them?
I can't believe you people bringing Brexit into everything. It's so boring now. You lost, get over it. Move on, will of the people. Unicorns. We need to control our fish, Adam.
But also, not just about whether or not the regulatory frameworks are bringing it over, but also the regulatory frameworks of monitoring it, pharmacovigilance, drug monitoring, looking at adverse event reporting and things like this. How do we report that? Because it pulled out of the EMA.
So we haven't actually got anything to replace it with yet. And this is not, I mean, we know this is true for farmers, for hauliers, for a lot of people involved in import-export. We know an awful lot of them aren't even close to ready for it. But this, for example, if the Farage garage does see huge backlogs of trucks, they'd mostly be trying to leave the country, I suppose, so it may not be relevant. But this stuff needs to be refrigerated at minus 70 or 80 degrees, so that's not something that you want to be stuck in a Farage garage, is it?
Not at all. And also we have this the added complications of mutation of the virus. So we've got this mink version now that's coming through the mink population that's had to be destroyed. But also we're starting to get cases of people being reinfected with SARS-CoV-2. And because we have that reinfection, does that mean that even though the vaccine may stop people getting it the first time round, do we have enough data to show that they're covered the second time round? We don't know. And so,
but does that, forgive me, you sound like you know what you're talking about.
I'm a lecturer in bioscience, and I also have a master's in clinical trials.
I wasn't being sarcastic. I really so you know what you're talking about. I said you don't sound like you know what you're talking. It came across like, oh well, you really sound like. Do you know what it was based on? Not just the quality of your insights, but the length of some of the words you used, Adam, which obviously as a listener to this programme you'll know I take that as a fine sign of a superior intellect. What was the one you said? Pharmacosecurity or something? What was that one?
Pharmacovigilance.
Pharmacovigilance. Get in! That's fantastic. I love it. But you're right, and you clearly do know exactly what you're talking about, and these are genuine concerns, but they're not unfixable or unassailable concerns, and there's some confidence to be derived perhaps from the fact that our government won't really be involved in any of the major decision-making processes here.
But we need to have this sorted out before the end of the transition period, otherwise they become major concerns.
Yeah, I hear you. And yeah, I was being sarcastic, obviously, when I said stop bringing Brexit into everything. Because
I understand.
Brexit's going to run through everything, isn't it, for the country?
Everything hit at the same time.
It did. And can I just share something with you? Because people, I think you'll appreciate this. So John Major, and we're going to talk about this in the next hour, John Major said in a speech yesterday, Brexit is set to be more brutal than anyone expected. Do you know how the Conservative MP Lucy Allen replied to that?
Go on.
So what?
That's ridiculous.
Brexit is set to be more brutal than anyone expected, says John Major, who, you know, has a fair clue about what's occurring, and the Conservative MP for Telford responds in public on Twitter with "So what?" Adam, I'd rather listen to you, and I look forward to listening to you again with your pharmacovigilance. Cheeky so-and-so. It's coming up to 11 o'clock. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Tempted to take a few more of your calls on this, just because it feels so different to be dancing in the streets, albeit dancing in but I don't know. I shall have a top conference with my crack team of operatives during the forthcoming news headlines. I do want to turn your attention to John Major's speech, and I want to try and do it in a spirit of friendship and warmth. He has said that Britain needs to accept that it's no longer a first-rate global power. That's what he said. We will never be so again. We are a top second-ranked power, but over the next half-century, however well we perform, our small size and population makes it likely we'll be passed by others.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation, this is LBC.
From Global Newsroom at 11 o'clock. The Health Secretary says the NHS will work 7 days a week to roll out a coronavirus vaccine if it's approved by regulators. A jab being developed by Pfizer is found to be 90% effective in advanced trials. Matt Hancock's asked the Health Service to be ready to roll it out for the start of December. Head of the Department of Sociology at the University of Oxford, Professor Melinda Mills, says the government needs to manage expectations about how quickly life can return to normal.
Because we'll have priority groups go first, and because there will be some things that normally happen with vaccines, very normal that you have side effects and risks, we should just be very cautious. It will take some time. We'll have to wear face coverings still for some time.
The figures show more people were made redundant between July and September than at any point on record. The 340,000 job losses were registered during the quarter. The data suggests unemployment in the UK reached 4%. Employment Minister Mims admits it's not positive news.
We know that the pandemic to play out, and as well the number of people on furlough remains relatively high, but we're absolutely focused on protecting as many livelihoods as we can with our £200 billion worth of support.
A healthcare professional has been rearrested on suspicion of the murder of 8 babies at a hospital in Cheshire. The woman is also being held over the attempted murder in others at the Countess of Chester's neonatal unit. She was first arrested in July 2018. The Palestinian negotiator Sayed Erekat has died weeks after contracting coronavirus. The 65-year-old was an advisor to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. He was also the Palestinians' chief negotiator in peace talks with Israel for more than 2 decades. And stolen books worth more than £2.5 million have been returned to their owners. They included works by Galileo and Sir Isaac Newton, and were taken during a highly sophisticated burglary in West London in 2017. Met Police detectives travelled to Romania to retrieve them, but say some were badly damaged and 4 still haven't been found. In the city a short time ago, the FTSE 100 was up 75 points at 62.61. The pound buys $1.31 and €1.11. And the weather, some scattered showers but dry for much of the time and becoming brighter later in the afternoon. Still mild for most, but winds picking up in the northwest, a high of 14 degrees. From Global's newsroom, I'm Dominic Ellis.
From the case files of Miss Maureen 118212. You know, the life of a telephone detective is never dull. 1 minute you might be called by a lady from Luton looking for a lighting shop. The next it might be a gent from Darrow who just needs a jeweller. Whatever the number you need is Maureen 118212.
Maureen
118212. Calls cost £2.50 per call plus 75p a minute with a minimum 1 minute charge plus your phone company's access charge.
LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with James O'Brien.
3 minutes after 11 is the time. I hope we can do this in a friendly way. I hear John Major's words and feel quite sad because I was thinking about this the other day, as you will not be surprised to learn. I do spend a lot of time worrying about people who are you know, in a bit of a hole at the moment. People who somehow are persuaded that their postcode or the place where they were born is the most important and impressive thing about their entire lives. And it's so sad that. It speaks of an absence of love in your life. If you think that somehow by dint of being born here as opposed to there, you're better than them. It's actually really sad, and it does people such psychic and emotional damage, and that psychic and emotional damage of course gets passed on to the next generation and all of the people around you. It's just wrong. But taking pride in where you come from is different. I've never properly articulated this. I've tried so hard, and maybe nobody has, although I bet you Orwell's come close. The difference between taking pride in where you come from, or the achievements of people with whom you feel a kinship, even an ethnic kinship, or certainly a geographical kinship. I always find geography more, it's like we are from the same place rather than we are of the same ilk. Seem to me to be quite important distinctions. And I spent years not quite knowing what Dr. Johnson meant when he talked about patriotism being the last refuge of a scoundrel, because I'm a child of the 70s. I grew up reading Commando comics and seeing maps that were mostly red, you know, post-Empire, maps of the British Empire. And you looked at the United Kingdom, Britain, England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. You looked at that, and it was quite incredible. I'm going to give you a heads up on a book that you can't actually buy until next year, but I've been privileged enough to have a sneak peek at it by the Times journalist sat there. Are precisely the things that some National Trust members are complaining that they might actually run the risk of being told sometime soon when they turn up at a stately home. How did we do this? So How many times do we come down together, you and I, to what versus why, when what you need is both? So what happened? Britannia rules the waves! Why? Because we are genetically superior to everybody else. Okay, you're a Nazi. Okay, why did Britannia rule the waves? Because all the others were, a bit rubbish. Okay, mildly xenophobic. Not necessarily true. Why? Well, because we were brutal and we exported astonishing levels of violence, subjugation and supremacism. We did make the trains run on time, didn't we? In India, for example. So it is almost impossible to defend according to the moral framework of the 21st century. But no one needs to, because we're not living in the moral framework of the 19th century. So you simply chalk it up as moral relativism, and you recognise that the world has turned. So what John Major has described, I think, is the turn of the world. You would not today justify sending shed load of ships to Africa, loaded up with beads, swapping them for human beings, and then sailing back to Bristol with hundreds of them dying in the hold because they were going to be worth so much money when you got back here that it would cover all of the losses that you'd run on the entire voyage. You just wouldn't do that. All right, you would. But most people wouldn't do that. It's just a given. So to suggest that there was something wrong in doing it in the 19th century is not undermining Britain or being unpatriotic. It's the same as saying, well, we wouldn't send children up chimneys anymore. But that doesn't mean we should knock down all the chimneys. Oh, that's good. Keith, write that down. I'm going to use that one again. Do you see what I mean? Read your William Blake about what was commonplace in Victorian England, in London, the way children were treated, child brothels on the South Bank. But more pertinently, child chimney sweeps. Not many of them, but, you know, there was no such thing as school. There was no such thing effectively as a welfare state. Kids would send up chimneys to risk their lives to clean wealthy people's flues. Now, telling you that, writing poems about it, how the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. So you Blake write poems about it, doesn't make him unpatriotic. It means he loves children, cares about humans. Same with post-colonial legacies. Problem is, of course, that when I say humans, some people don't hear it. You can't treat humans like that. Well, hang on a minute. I think you'll find that many of the tribal chiefs were selling their own people into slavery. They shouldn't treat humans like that either. It's not either or. There's nothing going on here. So, I get it. And the way I get it, when I try to understand the thinking and the feelings of people who, at first glance, I feel great antipathy towards. And there are some really nasty worldviews out there. If we haven't clocked that in the last 4 years, then we never will. You know, there are people who, I think the number of children that have been separated from their parents with the authorities having no way to track down the parents in America after Donald Trump passed a law specifically to do that has now reached 666, which has a certain significance for some of us, doesn't it? 666 children in America taken away from their parents, and the parents are now untraceable, and the government, without court orders, won't even pass on the phone numbers of the parents that they've got in their records to the charities and the workers who want to help track down these parents to reunite them with their own children. Yeah, that's 2020 in America. That's not 1936 in Germany, 1938 in Germany. That's right now. That's going on. So there are some really evil, never believe in evil people, but there are people possessed of some deeply evil views out there, okay? And we used to be pretty bad as a nation, you know? There's lots of things we did that are absolutely unjustifiable in the context of modern morality.